Well, welcome everybody again to B&H. It's my second time here. I'm really surprised at being the second time. It's full of people again, so maybe you like it. Okay, I'm as Lauren told you, I am from Argentina, and the talk of today is around wildlife photography. The wildlife photography usually is action. You're going to see here in all the pictures, you will see the data of the pictures, so you can ask and see a little bit how I'm working with the wildlife. So most of the time, wildlife photography is action. So you need to be fast, you need to be ready. It's like a hunter in some way. So to be pointing correct, focusing correct. So that's a fast part. Sometimes you have opportunities of having very beautiful colors. Sometimes the wildlife photography is life, it's the beginning of life. Here is not too much action, but really situations that you really enjoy when you have the opportunity of having something like this in front of you. But sometimes wildlife photography is the death. See, you have the opportunities to see the cavenders there waiting. But that's wildlife too, the life and death. Sometimes you have the opportunity to be very close to the animals, so you can have portraits of them. This is in Brazil. This is an araras, the macaw, the blue macaw. Another portrait. Sometimes these things happen in national parks where the birds and the animals are very used to people, so you can go very close. This is another portrait of an animal I love. The vicuña is one of the camels we have in South America. Sometimes you can play a little bit with the art to create something more contemplative, or then turn to black and white. So you can do almost, being in the same situation, you can do everything, because the wildlife photographer, as I told you, is like a hunter, chasing opportunities. Maybe you're waiting for a specific animal, but the animal does not appear, so you have time to shoot everything you have around, and always looking for opportunities. Sometimes you can play a little bit with the post-process, like with this burrowing owl. What I did here is the whole animal is in black and white, and only the eyes are in color. And sometimes you can enjoy the landscape. So you can do everything in the same moment. Again, enjoying the landscapes. Well, I can say that in wildlife photography we have three main components. One is the photographer, we there. Then in the other extreme you have the animal, and between the animal and the photographer is the camera gear. When we're talking about maybe city photography or landscape photography, really the gear does not mind too much. It's more the photographer and less the gear, because you can make a fantastic picture with an iPhone, with a pocket camera. You can do fantastic pictures, but once you are getting into wildlife, things change. Things change, and they are more expensive. So if we talk about the perfect camera gear for wildlife, it's very difficult to say, but that we say that the perfect camera gear is something you can buy, something you can carry, something you can handle. I have some girls, photographers, friends, that they have really problems to take a big lens. So always when you are going to buy something, think about if you're going to able to handle it. So as I told you, To be a wildlife photographer, you have to be quick and effective. And to achieve the photo you want, you need to have a fast and accurate equipment. What you need? Basically, you need a camera that shoots many frames per second. So 5, 6, 7. Now we have DSLR that can shoot 10 frames per second. Some mirrorless, they are going up to 11 and maybe more. And then you need a telephoto lens with fast autofocus. This is, you need essential. You can't think about wildlife photography with a good autofocus lens. But sometimes more expensive gear may not be the most appropriate for you. And I'm going to give you some examples here. If you're going to the top of the line of Nikon or Canon in a lens, it's a 600, you can see there the price and you can see the weight. But if you go down, you will see lenses like the Sigma 150-600 or the new Nikon 500 is a very, very new lens. And you can see that they are much cheaper and really they are lighter. So that's the first thing. Then go to the bodies. The bodies you can find in DSLR. You go to the top of the line in Canon and Nikon, and you can see the price, and you can see the weight. And then you go to cameras like the Canon 7D. It's a fantastic camera for wildlife in small frame, or the Nikon D7200, and you see the price and the weight. These are all B&H prices, so you can find them in the web. And then we can see combinations, going to the extremes. Imagine at the top of the line in Canon, the body and lens, you're going to need to invest $16,000. You need to carry in your walk or whatever almost 13 pounds. And I put there the effective focal length. It's a 600. So you reach a 600 millimeters to the animal. And then you go to the other extreme, for instance, a Nikon 7200 with the new lens I told you. You're going to expense $2,300 and you're going to carry 6 pounds. And you're going to reach the effective focal length would be 750. Of course, in the extremes, the quality is not the same. But you have to think about, do I need to invest so much money? And I'm going to be able to carry that thing with me, that stuff in the way. Okay, then we have other decisions about gear when you're going to take wildlife photography. We can handheld the camera, we can use a monopod, or we can use a tripod. In fact, I'm using the three things depending what the situation I'm involved. Always you have to know that as you're going up in that line, you will have more freedom to move. So if you're in the car, you can jump out of the car fast. You can run. You can walk. It's less weight to carry. So less weight, you don't have to carry a tripod and monopod. But if you're going down, you're going to get sharper images, and finally your pictures will have less noise because you can go to lower ISO, lower sensitivity, and the final picture will be better. So those are decisions you can take in the moment of hunting any animal. Maybe if the light that day is very good, I can go maybe to a handheld camera. Maybe if it's a little bit cloudy, I can think about a monopod. Or maybe if the lighting conditions are not so good, I have to think yes in the tripod. Well, handhold, tripod, or a monopod. Another alternative is use the car as a hide. This is very interesting because the animals are not afraid to the car. Most of the animals are not afraid. So you can go very close to the animal, and you have time to watch, to photograph them. But once you open the door, they will run away. That's immediately. They give you 2 seconds and they run away. So the car is a very good choice. And the big bag thing in the door is fantastic. I use that even for filming. However, it's very important to keep silent inside the car, no? Not move. Avoid silence. Sometimes the engine on is better. That little sound helps to the animal to be more quiet. In the moment you turn off the engine, they know that something is happening. Then another alternatives are the hides. This is an hydro hide. These pictures are for a friend of mine that he's fanatic of the hydro hide, and he goes every weekend to the lakes, and he takes fantastic pictures from there. He's an Icon man, and he has a 600 for the top of the line, and well, you see the difference sometimes, huh? Okay, let's talk a little bit about the animal. The first thing we have to know about the animal is that it's a wild animal. It's not a tame animal. It's not a pet. So you have to treat it as a wild animal. And it's the first consideration, because maybe sometimes you say, okay, I'm going to find a cat. I'm going to find a condor. And they're not tame. They're going to be there if they want, if they need, or they're just there. So that's the first consideration we have to know. The second thing I always tell is that we have to study about the animal we are looking for, or maybe study about the environment we are going and which are the animals we are going to find there. That's basic for a wildlife photographer, basic. Then the time of the day. The time of the day, if you're looking for birds, the birds are very active early in the morning. So if you love birds photography, you have to be ready before sunrise, and you know that the next 2-3 hours they will be very active. You will have many choices for birds, and after that the birds are more and more difficult to find. Then the mammals are more active during twilight. It's not the best light for taking pictures, but if you want to watch them, to observe them, you have to wait for the twilight. And the cats usually cut during twilight. The foxes appear. Then the other consideration is that you need to know where to find the animal you're looking for. I put this picture of a condor, because the condor, being a bird, is not an early flyer. The condors start flying when the temperatures rises a little bit. They need the thermal currents for moving, for planning. So you find them in the north of Argentina after 10, 11 in the morning. You have to be patient, and if you go to the specific places, you can find the condor. The condor, you know, is the biggest flying bird in the earth, after the giant albatross, but the giant albatross is always over the sea. The condor is in the land. From point to point, from one point to the other, in the wings is 10 feet. So it's a big animal, 3 meters. Well, take a look always the speed, the shutter speed I'm using are always high shutter speeds. Something important being with this, if you have no idea of what you can see in that environment, you will not have the full understanding of what you are discovering. So that's why you need to study before going, talking with other photographers before going to that places. If you have a good guide that takes you there, is fantastic. And I put this example. This bird is torrent duck. The torrent duck is a very particular duck we have in the rivers in the Andes of South America. And maybe if you see one of these birds, you don't pay attention, maybe you continue walking. But the torrent duck is, you have there the female and the male, they're absolutely different, so maybe you can think they are two different species of animal. And if you are in the correct season, you have to wait and sure the chicks are around there. So they make a show, and they're very territorial. So once you discover one of these torrent ducks, you have to know that they move 1 kilometer up and down on the river always. So you have to wait and they will appear. It's a very nice it's a very nice situation when you see the family playing in the water. It's a very, these ducks, they jump from the egg to the water. They never nest. They just try to the water. So they're born knowing how to feed and how to swim. It's fantastic. Another consideration is, if you're looking for any special animal, you may find, you may or not may not find it. And I put this example is this a Geoffrey's cat. Geoffrey's cat. Once it happened to me that I found this Geoffrey's cat being almost 100 times there, and I passed there 100 more times, and I never find the cat again. So it was only once. So never expect to find something, some animal again in the same place. They could be or not. Then some consideration of relating with other conduct, our behavior with the animal. The animal always creates its own security zone. We must not invite it. You will see, you will perceive when in an animal, they will tolerate you to get closer, and in one moment they will move. I have the experience with flamingos in the lakes. You can go closer and you see they are feeding, but in one moment they stop feeding. And that means that you are entering to the security zone. If you go a little bit more inside the security zone, they start walking. It means danger. And you go more, they fly. And there are animals that they need a lot of energy to fly. So you have to consider that when you're photographing. And really, if they are nesting, you can provoke a disaster in the colony. Well, some animals are skittish. Some are confident. You may find birds that you can really go very, very close to some birds. And others are dangerous. Some wild cats, the bears, a snake. They are dangerous animals, so you have to be far of them. So maybe if you enter in the security zone, they will attack you. Okay, another considerations about the no things you have to do, no harm the animal, no stress the animal, no baiting. About baiting, there are different opinions, because in the garden, you can bait the birds. But if you start feeding the birds, you will always need to feed them because they get used to your food. If you stop one day, you are killing them. So those considerations you have to know. No pushing the animals. Don't make them fly to take the picture, and don't make them run. Then nesting birds are particularly vulnerable and need a special consideration. Keep a respectful distance from the nest. If you're using a macro lens or a wide-angle lens, even if you're operating the camera remotely, it means you are too close. So you're provoking a stress in the animal. It's different in Galapagos. No, I was talking with David. Galapagos is different, but this is for regular situations. Avoid to flash the animals, no, to make them fly. Scaring the young. What happens if the young chicks just start shouting? It's an alarm for the predators. The predators know, okay, there is a nest there, so they go. Another thing, if you walk always to see the same nest, you're leaving a trace, you're leaving a road for the predators that guides to the. So there are many behaviors you have to take care when you're in the nature. Other things sometimes we do, we remove a branch because the branch is just in the middle of us and the nest. And maybe that branch is protecting them from predators. Well, let's talk about camera settings. Exposure mode. Some of you are wildlife photographers already? No? Okay. Well, thank you. Well, the idea, I always have the discussion, arguing with other photographers if it's better shutter speed priority or aperture priority. So shutter speed means that I fix a speed and the camera will choose the aperture, or I fix the aperture and the camera will have the correct shutter speed for that aperture. Most of the photographers, they use regular aperture priority. I prefer shutter priority. Prefer shutter priority because I know exactly which is the speed the camera is shooting. But at the end, the result is that if you are shooting birds, think about 1,600 of a second is a good speed. Of course, if the lights go down, you can go down with the speed till 800. It depends your experience, depends the animal you are shooting. Sometimes when you're talking about, you say, okay, with a tripod, I can shoot in 60 speed, but the animal will be moved. Some people say, okay, but my lens have image stabilizer, but they stabilize the lens, not the animal. The animal is still moving. So always think about that. So the high shutter speed is mainly because you have to freeze the movement of the animal. Well, sorry. The ISO sensitivity. As a landscape photographer, I would say always shoot in the lower ISO you can, because in a landscape, I don't tolerate to have any noise. I like the perfect picture, but wildlife is different. Wildlife, I walk a lot of distance, I paid for a very good lens, and once I am in front of the bird, in front of the animal, I want him in a good picture. So I can tolerate some noise on that. I can tolerate some noise later in a post-process with a good software. I can work with the software with a noise. So then what I say, do not be afraid to get pictures with some noise. I prefer that to a poorly exposed photo that cannot be corrected later in the image editor like Photoshop or Lightroom. And here you have an example. This is a jaguar in the twilight, and I went up to 6,400 ISO, and it's a photo. If you go maybe inside, you can see some noise, something, but I have the photo of the jaguar. So don't be afraid to go up. Use the cameras. The new cameras are really working very, very good in high sensitivities. Then increasing the ISO sensitivity allows you shooting at higher shutter speeds, of course, because more sensitivity in the camera, you can go higher in the shutter speed. This is important not only to freeze the movement of the animal, but also to prevent the blur produced by the camera shaking. I don't know if you heard about the reciprocal rule. The reciprocal rule says that if you are hand holding your camera, your shutter speed should not be slower than your effective focal length, but not lower than 1/5 of a second, in order to avoid the blur that results from the camera shake during the capture of the image. What does this mean? This means that if you have a 500 millimeters and you are shooting with a full frame camera, the effective focal length is 500. So your minimum shutter speed, not to get a shaked photo, is 500 of a second. But if you go to APS-C with a 1.5 multiplier factor, you have to go to an effective focal length of 750. So your minimum shutter speed will be that one. This is just to prevent the blur because of the camera shaking. We are not thinking about the movement on the animal. This is just for the camera. Well, here's an example with 300, the same. Then the light metering. The light metering is how the camera meters the light on the frame. And you have different choices. You can have the evaluative in Canon or matrix in Nikon. Then the spot is just a spot in the center of the frame, and then the center weighted. I recommend the center weighted for wildlife, because I will know that the camera is metering the light there where the animal is, not the spot, because the spot will meter the light in a certain part of the animal, maybe the leg, the head, but the center weighted covers the animal I am photographing. Of course, this is practice. No? This is not something you have to. It's not like a Bible. It's not just look to it and practice. This is my practice, and this is what I use. This is an example of what happens with the center weighted. See that the animal has a very black background. If I would use here an evaluative metering, maybe the camera will try to get information from the background, and maybe the bird will be a little bit overexposed. So that's what with the center weighted, I have always guaranteed that I'm metering the light on the animal. Then another thing, experience tells me that the feathers and fur of animals are often very bright, causing highlight problems. The highlight is there are spots of burned pixels on your frame. You cannot recover any information when you have the blinking for the highlights. So what I do, I set my camera in minus 0.7, always. And with that, I have some guarantee that I'm not going to have blinking highlight points in the animal. But sometimes when you are shooting animals with white feathers in a bright light, you need to go maybe more than that. I've written photographing these kinds of birds, the egret. See that the egret has a problem of highlights here. There's no information there, so it's not a good picture. So maybe there we must go to the -2 EV of compensation. So sometimes it's just to play, just to think about that, but always think that if you have the blinking part, you have no information there. So there's no software that can recover a pixel from there. So my recommendation is activate the highlights alerts in your display. Almost all the cameras have that. Okay, then the burst mode. I told you at the beginning that it's necessary to have a camera that can take many frames per second. Nikon has you can put in the continuous high shutter speed or continuous low shutter speed or picture by picture, also the same in Canon. I recommend you to put in the highest burst speed you have in the camera. It goes up to 7, put in 7, you have 11, go up to 11. So what's the idea? The idea is that once the animal starts moving, you press the button, you try to maintain the animal on your frame, and you can get many pictures. Then you can choose the better, and maybe 2 or 3 are good pictures. So this is why always have it, because if you have your camera set it in 1 by 1 picture from one press and the other press, the animal is gone. So this happens in maybe 1 second, 2 seconds. It's happening this. Then the autofocus mode. Basically the camera have three settings: manual, like the old-fashioned way, and then the automatic focus. But you can choose 2 different ones. The single one, when you press, you freeze the focus with the distance of where the subject is, and the continuous or I servo in Canon, the camera will track the movement of the animal, maintaining always sharp the animal. So I recommend the continuous or IA servo in Canon. Then you have to choose the area of the frame that you are going to use. Canon and Nikon have very different choices. Sony too, Panasonic too. They have different areas where you can think about. One is a single point. The single point, the camera just look where the center of the point is metering. It's metering the distance, So they freeze there. And if you are a good follower, you can keep the animal always in that point. Then you have what you call in Nikon dynamic area or autofocus expansion points. What happens there? Maybe you can choose the center one, but once the animal is moving, the camera will start looking in the other points around that center to keep the animal in focus. So the best thing to do is read the manuals, read all the descriptions of the camera, and see what is the best one you have for your camera. I have to say that I used a single point autofocus. I could use dynamic area, but really with a single point autofocus, I'm working very well. Maybe because I can track the animal well, but for me, it's perfect. There are some situations that the autofocus of the camera work very, very bad. It's very difficult, because what? You have many, many branches between you and the animal. So in these situations, you go to the manual or just a single point, the center point. If you are precise, you can focus the animal. Here's another thing that can happen. You have this macaw here, but you have branches that are between you and the animal. If you are not choosing the correct autofocus area, the camera will go to the branch, to the first branch, and not to the animal. Here's another situation. Between the jaguar and me, there are many branches. Then another problem you will see, you will have. You are following these birds while flying, and suddenly the camera went to the palm. It can happen. It happens. And then the camera takes again the birds. So in the birds, the camera went one and then trapped the birds again. So this is something that happens, and you have to deal with it. Okay, let's talk a little bit about birds in flight. Why I choose this? Because if you can photograph birds in flight, because if you're ready to do anything, because birds in flight is the most difficult things to get in wildlife photography. If you know how to get them, you really are ready for photograph anything about wildlife. We're going to see a little bit about hummingbirds. The hummingbirds, they're terrible because they move very fast, and they give you maybe 1 second to take the picture. It's an amazing animal. The first recommendation I give for this kind of animal is help the lens by doing a pre-focus. What do I mean? If there I have a flower, and I know that the hummingbird will fly around that flower, I pre-focus on that flower so the lens goes to that distance. Because if I am pointing to the infinitus, 10 kilometers there, the lens will focus there, and then will take time to go back to the flower. So I pre-focus there. I know that the lens is on the flower, and the hummingbird will be around there. So I don't lose time between the animal is, in the middle, the animal is coming, and I take the picture. Just the animal comes, everything is ready to take the picture. You have another hummingbird. See here, the speed. The speed is 2,000 of a second. And even with that speed, see that the point of the wings of the bird is moved. It's 2,000 of a second. So I could not completely freeze the animal. So they move very, very fast. This is an example where I did the pre-focus. I saw that flower, was sitting in a chair. I say, in one moment the hummingbird will go there. And I wait, and the hummingbird went to that flower. But the focus of the camera was already on the flower. Then you can practice with birds in the cities. More flying birds. This is the flamingos. The American skimmer. This is a fantastic animal to photograph. The egret, what's the name in English? I don't remember the name of this in English. This is Ati. This is it's found in the wetlands in South America. Okay, let's talk a little bit about conservation photography. First, when we talk about being wildlife photographers, we know that we are a complete different branch of other photographers. In wildlife photography, you cannot control many of the situations. You don't control the light. You have no control of the subject. You don't have control of the weather. So you have to work on the sun and the heat, the wind, the cold, and as we said, the animal could be there or not. The animal could move just in the moment when you expect to have a good picture. So we are different than other branches of the photography. You have to be able to walk sometimes distances. You have to be able to carry some weight with you. You have to be mentally prepared to be maybe 3-4 hours waiting in an uncomfortable position for an animal. So it's not easy. It's not easy really to get a good picture. To get this picture, I stayed, I think, 2 or 3 hours stand up in a frozen water of this lake in the Andes. But finally, the results were very, very good. Very, very good. Then something interesting about the wildlife photographers is the role we have in conservation process. Because we are there, we are taking the pictures of places where not regular people can go. We have a different eye to see the nature. We have a special gear to see the nature in that way. And the photograph we take, thanks to social media, to Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, they go around the world. So I can show my work all around, many countries, many people, thousands or millions, and I can alert for any strange situation that could be happening to an environment. So the power we have as a wildlife photographers is very high. We must work with our responsibility. It's an activity, the photo safaris, the photo trips is an activity that is growing. And it's very good that it could be growing because it's a different way to approach to the nature. You're not killing the animal. The photographers can shoot an animal many, many, many times. If you compare with the hunter shoots once, and that's all. I can take 1,000 pictures of these flamingos and the babies, and tomorrow another photographer goes and take another 1,000 pictures, and this tomorrow, and this is a process that is permanent. We can shoot many times. We can kill many times the animals. That's fantastic. But then it happens that some biologists, some ecologists, they are concerned about the activity of photographers. Because sometimes we go very close. Sometimes because of the goals we have to get the special picture, we are disturbing the animal. But as wildlife photographers, we must know that we have to behave in a correct way in the nature. So that's where my considerations at the beginning. So I think that this is an activity that can help a lot about nature, but we have to be prepared not to disturb the nature. Sometimes I'm a little bit concerned when big groups of tourist photographers arrive to a pristine area, and suddenly it's not any more pristine, no? And maybe the animals are stressed because of the quantity of people. So it's an activity that must be regulated, you have to think about that, and maybe the concern of biologists and ecologists for certain situations is right, but for others not. Because the ecologists and biologists must think that maybe the money we are living in those places is worth to the little damage we are causing. If you compare with a hunting safari, absolutely different. Well, I will show you some examples where photography and conservation work together, and they did very well. One of the places is Iberá. is in the northeast of Argentina. And we say that it's the best kept wildlife secret in South America. There's a story of a place where the community decided to produce nature. Why produce nature? If you have a farm, you can produce meat, you can produce milk, you can produce soybean, you can produce corn, many goods. But if you leave everything alone and leave nature comes up, you're producing nature. And you can get money from that because you can take tourists there, photographers there, so you are really producing nature and you're helping the environment and you're getting money for that. We are not all of us, we are not national parks. So maybe if we have a property, we can get money from the nature of that property if we do it correct. And something like that happened in Iberá. Iberá is located in here. This is Paraguay, this is Brazil, and all this is Argentina. This is northeast of Argentina. Iberá is a group of ponds, lakes, river, marsh that cover a big surface, as you saw on the map. And that produced a lot of a very extraordinary biodiversity, maybe of the most, the biggest biodiversity in Argentina is there in Iberá. It's one of my favorite places. You can see that the animals are not afraid of people. In some part of Iberá, really, you think that the animals are considering you as another wildlife member, so you can get almost very, very close without disturbing them, and you can see them feeding. You can see feeding chicks. It's really, really interesting. The story of this place started like 15 years ago, when the governments decided to forbid hunting, to forbid fishing, and to control poaching. All the communities there, they live from hunting and selling the skin of the animals, to selling the meat of the animals. But it was an economy that was decreasing because there were less and less animals, people were more and more poor, so there were a vicious circle, very difficult to get away. With the decision this like 15, 17 years ago, always a decision like this must start in the states, must start in the government. They decided the control. So it's a protected area, not a national park yet. It's a protected area. And what happens after that is nature starts coming. And nowadays, those who were hunters, they are teachers of new leaders, of new guides. So now they live more wealthy, they have more education, there are not so much poverty as other parts of the country. There are hotels, there are restaurants, there are a whole system, a whole economy living from the nature. That's very, very interesting in Iberá. This is the marsh deer, was an animal that was almost extincted 15 years ago. And now we can go 15 meters from them. The spoonbill is a beautiful animal. What is an egret? Well, caimans are all over. They don't look friendly, but they really do nothing. You have to be very careful not to step over them. I never tried to step over one, but you can walk really close, and they really don't. They are not reported accidents with caimans. This is the capybara. The capybara, or carpincho, how you call that, is the biggest rodent in the world. So it's a big rodent. Yes, a huge guinea pig. Here you see the capybaras around the farms, around the houses. They are walking around there. It's an animal that in other parts of South America lives, but you never see them because they are so afraid to humans that you don't even see them. Here you can walk with the capybaras. There's another animal there. Is the rhea. You know what it is? It's like an ostrich. Yes. These are the sunsets in Iberá. They're beautiful. As an ecosystem, it has a little diversity. You know, there you have lakes, you have woods, you have grasslands, and in the woods you find these monkeys, the capuchin monkey, the howler monkey. This is the bird that was almost extincted too, and now is recovered because they not only recovered the wet part of the Iberá, but also the grasslands. And in the grasslands live this animal, live these other two. This is the pampas deer. The pampas deer was the most common deer in Argentina 100 years ago, was spread all over Argentina, and now there are 2 or 3 isolated communities of it, and one is in Iberá. What they are doing there is they are moving animals. When in one of those communities the population starts growing, they move animals from here to there and are trying to plant the animals in different parts. An organization that is working very hard here is one called CLT. CLT belongs to the Tompkins. It's very sad that Douglas Tompkins died like a month ago. He was very concerned about this environment, and most of what Iberá is today is thanks to Douglas Tompkins and CLT, Conservation Land Trust. They put radio controls in the animals to follow them. And then they are working in the reintroduction of species that were extincted, hunted till extinction in Iberá. And one of the animals is this, the giant anteater. It's a fantastic animal. Here, I don't know if you can see, but in this picture is better. You can see the baby here. So they made the reintroduction of the animal, and the animals are mating there. So that's fantastic. No, that's great. All the reintroduced animals, they have radio control, so the scientific researchers can follow them. And now this is the last project in Iberá, is the reintroduction of the jaguar. The jaguar was there, but 50, 60 years ago, maybe they killed the last one. So now what they're doing is reintroducing. But what they're doing then? They're taking animals that were already in captivity in zoos. This is 2 years ago. Nowadays, we have a female in one of these corrals, and in the next days will arrive a male from other zoo. And here you have a connection between the two jails. This is like a big garden, no? In one of the jails. And you have to know that there are animals that they were used to be in zoos in very little teeny places. So for them to be here is great. So when the female is ready to mate, they open the door, they let the male enter, and after that, they move the male to the other corral. The female will have the babies there, but once the babies are with some days, they open here and they let the female go with the puppies to this bigger corral. And in that corral, the new babies will not have any contact with humans. They will see the humans behind the fence, but the mother will feed the babies with the capybaras, with the caimans, with all the natural animals that are there. So the jaguar, the future big adult jaguar, we know how to feed with the natural food is there. So the project is rolling. It's an idea of Douglas Tompkins, and we have not mating yet between the two animals, but everybody expects that it will be okay. It will be the first experience in the world with jaguars. Well, the role of photographers there is fantastic, because we pay their money, we pay the guides. The young people there, they have a future in the area now, so you're helping them going there. You're helping the people that work in the hotels. So they have very high standard concept of sustainability is there, sustainability. So it's very interesting the role we have. Well, this picture is very nice because it represents a little bit the role we have there and how the animals treat us. You really can go very close to some of them, not always, but this deer is really around there. It's a wild animal, and it's really very, very nice. Well, another place that is similar to Iberá, but is huge. It's the world's largest wetland area with the greatest concentration of wildlife in the Americas. It's one of the best locations in South America to see and photograph wildlife. The other good location is Iberá. This is interesting too. Everyone hears about the Amazon, but it's hard to spotting wildlife in the rainforest. If you've been in the jungle, you can hear a lot of animals, you can see no animals. But here in Pantanal, you can see them. It's a rich and diverse mixture of wetlands, grasslands, and forests, allowing greater wildlife viewing opportunities. 80% of Pantanal floodplains are submerged during rainy season. There are two seasons, the wet season and the dry season. The difference maybe is 5 meters of water level, so you have to go there in winter. In summer, it's impossible. And that difference of the water, the altitude of the water, produce a very extraordinary biodiversity too. Well, this is an aerial picture of one area of Pantanal. We have there are 80 species of mammals, 688 of birds, reptiles, fishes. It's huge. Where is Pantanal? This huge country is Brazil. This is Bolivia, and this is Peru. Paraguay. And Pantanal is almost the biggest part in Brazil and some parts in Bolivia and Paraguay. To have an idea of the surface, it's the same size as Utah. It's very big. It's very close to the Amazon. So northern Pantanal, you have all the Amazon. Then you have Pantanal. Pantanal is the beginning of the Paraguay River. The Paraguay River ends in the Paraná River, and Paraná River ends in Rio de la Plata. So we have two huge basins in South America. One is the Amazon basin, and the other is the Paraná basin. So here's the mountains that divide the two basins. So in the mixing point of the two regions, you have animals that flow from the Amazon to the Pantanal area. This is an example. This macaw is from the Amazonas, but you can see them. It's a green-winged macaw. It's a beautiful, beautiful animal. And again, the role of photographers there is very, very important. Very, very important. And you can see there are some hotels that they offer trips in this kind of trucks where you can see the animals very close. More birds, the chestnut. The Jacinthe macaw or blue macaw. Walt Disney did a movie with this animal. Then you have the toucans. This is the biggest stork in the world, it's like this altitude. The jabiru, and they nest over the trees. There you see them with the chicks. Again, the caimans. Then you have there are 3 species of monkeys. 3 species of monkeys. This is a very little one, black-tailed marmoset. They move very fast in the trees. So this is like shooting birds because they move really, really very, very, very fast. This is trogon. It's a very, very nice animal too. This is the second species of monkeys you find there. This is the black and gold howler monkey. And this is the third one, the capuchin monkey. So in the same woods, you can find the three species of monkeys. This the pygmy kingfisher. It's a kingfisher of this size. Well, this is a very beautiful animal, the orange-black troupial. And then again, the giant anteater. We were walking once around the hotel, and suddenly appears this guy. We worked in maybe 15 minutes with him. It's an animal that looks very innocent, but can kill you. Really, it's the only animal that the jaguar is afraid of. A jaguar will never attack a giant anteater because they can kill you like this. They have very powerful arms because with the powerful they break the termites nest, and they can kill you. Really, it's like this, big animal. So you have to be far from it. Don't enter in the security zone.
So you're 10 feet away?
Yes. They will never run because they are animals with very slow metabolism. So they don't run. They walk very slowly always. They are not related with bears. They are related with the armadillos. It's not. They are called. I say that because in South America we call oso hormiguero. Oso from bear. And some people think that they are related with bears, but not. But the landscape there is very nice too. Here you have another capuchin monkey watching us against the capybara. Here's the name, Kokoi heron, the name of the egret. This is a fantastic animal too, the giant otter. The giant otter is an animal that you cannot find anymore in different places of South America. In Iberá was a very common animal, but it was hunted to extinct it. But here in Pantanal you can see it. And of course the big moment is to find the jaguar. It's an amazing animal. I would say it's the only place in the world where you can see the jaguar like this if you're not in the zoo. Of course, you watch this animal from a boat. And it's forbidden to people to get down from the boat without permission. Even in the hotels, it's forbidden to walk alone around the hotel without permission. So it's a region where the wildlife is there. You have dangerous wildlife. They are not attacks, registered attacks, but they want to be sure that we will have no attacks in the future neither. So we have to behave there, less like in Africa. This jaguar is interesting because it's a recent battle with another jaguar, see? So you can see the lives there. It's happening. It's happening when you are there. Well, this picture you know already. This is one of our groups. We were there. And there's something I noticed there. It seems that no one paid attention to its biodiversity of Pantanal until photographers became interested in the area. The story of Pantanal was there was a place for hunting, for fishing, and so the few hotels there they were just for hunters and fishers, most fishers. But suddenly, and it happens that in that moment Pantanal was a huge cattle area. So in Pantanal, in the parts that were not flooded, they grew cows. So the most important cattle area of Brazil was Pantanal. So the jaguar was the enemy, was the worst enemy in the area. So the farmers, they shoot the jaguar. But suddenly, it happens that those farmers decide to move the cattle to other regions of Brazil. So the hunting of jaguars get lower, and suddenly the fishers start watching jaguars, and they told others, hey, we saw a jaguar the next day, the next week. We always saw another jaguar, And the mouth-by-mouth voices started spraying. And nowadays, fishing is not important, but photographers are the most important income of Pantanal. So we can say that the jaguar and its environment survives because of the photographers. And photographers are leaving a huge amount of money there. Once we did a calculation of how much a jaguar pays a day, is thousands of dollars. So that's what I mean when produce nature. Well, more crazy photographers with big lens. And again, the sunsets, another sunset. Okay, we're going to see another example. We call it a walk in the wild side in the extreme south of the Americas. And really it's extreme south. Torres del Paine is here, located in Chile, in the Patagonia of Chile. And it's really very wild. I will try to show you a short video. Well, the attraction there is, of course, the wildlife, and if you're lucky, you can see the puma. The story of Torre del Paine and the puma is similar. The puma was the enemy in most of the parts of there, because the puma killed the sheep, and the sheep were the main production in Patagonia in Chile was the sheep. Suddenly, a National Geographic documentary filmmaker went there like 20 years ago and did the research and found that the puma was there and was really very interesting because of the environment, the landscape, very interesting to see it, to watch and to film it and to observe it. After that film that you can find in YouTube, it's very nice, farmers of the area started thinking about the puma. They say, okay, maybe the puma can give me more money than the sheep. And that is what actually happened with this estancia where we were walking and we saw the puma. It's not exactly inside the national park, it's in the border of the national park. Because what happens? Inside the national parks, rangers are afraid that photographers are stressing the animals. And you can see that puma is not stressed, no? Really. It's just living their life. Of course, you don't have to enter into the security zone. You have to be out from there, and you're really not stressing it. So the story is like that. Now this man, instead of killing the puma, he was doing that 10 years ago, now he's helping the puma, and he's charging any time you enter to the estancia, you have to pay him. And now he's making a hotel inside the estancia to receive the photographers. that go there. So it's a story around photography and conservation again. Well, this is Torre del Paine. It's a beautiful region. Biodiversity is very interesting. Being in a very cold place of South America is very interesting. This is not exactly Torre del Paine. This is northern. This is the Darwin fox, first described by Charles Darwin in his first trip before going to Galapagos. This is the guanaco. The guanaco now is the main meal of the puma. The Stornella loica, it's a beautiful animal there. Here you can see the puma having water. So it's a really very, very nice experience. And again, the photography and conservation went together. See, here you can see, of course, for arriving to the puma, you need a very good guide. See, here is a puma. And this is one of our guides. And we are with the other guide. So they connect by radio. This is the real tracker. The story of this man is very interesting too, because he did puma tracking for killing the puma years ago. Nowadays, he does puma tracking for the photographers. And he's a master. He can find a puma kilometers of distance just watching. He knows the names. He put already names to each puma. So it's great. It's great. Well, here we have some of the group. Well, and to finish the conversation, we have to say that not always tourism and the environment go by the hand. Sometimes it's potentially dangerous. And I will show you just one example. It's an experience I had 1 year ago in a region called Puna or Altiplano or High Plateau. The Puna, well, here you have the Andes. This is the Andes of South America, go from here to here. Those are the Andes. And in the central part, the Andes are divided in two big ranges, the Eastern Andes and the Western Andes. And between both ranges, there is a flat area where you have the salt flats. They were talking about the salt flats today. Here you can see this is a huge salt flat, it's Uyuni in Bolivia. So that's why you have the salt flats in most of the cases, because they are closed basins. The water can go to any of the oceans. So they were prehistoric lakes. Now the water is evaporate, and there you have salt flats. In the case of Uyuni, it's different. Uyuni is evaporation from seawater that happens a million years ago. But the rest of the salt flats, most of the salt flats of the Andes are prehistoric lakes. Well, in this region, that is really considered a high desert, landscapes are amazing. Always think that you always there are around 12,000 feet of altitude. Even in summer, you can have freezing temperatures. You can have strong winds. So the whole environment is very aggressive to life, very, very aggressive to life. This is a nocturnal picture. All you can see are volcanic formations. You can see me there in the middle of this volcanic formation. No plants, no nothing around. This is another huge salt flat. This is called the Arizaro salt flat. And this formation is called the Arita cone, Cono de Arita. Volcanoes again. And in the middle of that environment, you can find a lagoon or a lake. And around that lake, you can find all the biodiversity of the Puna is concentrated there. These flamingos, they fly every year maybe 500 miles for nesting there, and then they fly back to other lower altitude lagoons to the winter. In a process, every year happens that. So imagine that we not behave proper there. We can make a disaster, really, really. And what happens there? You don't have rangers because it's so high to live. No electricity, no sweet water. So nobody wants to live there and control the tourists that can go. So potentially we can do very, very bad harm, very bad results. And well, around there, you kind of biodiversity. You have the vicuñas walking around there. Here you have the flamingos. As I told you, the flamingos, the security zone is very clear. If they are feeding, it's because you're out. And then when this picture you saw it is, imagine if I make these birds fly. They can fly one time, they come back. You make them fly again, maybe they come back. And the third time, maybe they don't come back because they don't have enough energy to come back. So if you have a crowd of photographers going there to take this picture, you can make a disaster, really. And of course there, well, this is, after some weeks, they make like colonies of like nurseries. If you make them fly, it's a problem. You have the gulls. The gulls are predators. They eat the chicks. They break the eggs. So if you make the adults leave the nest, you let them free for the predators. You have the Andean fox. The Andean fox is a big fox. It's a big animal that really can run over the water, run over the mud, and we saw it hunting young flamingos. So this is the end of the talk. Thank you to come, and maybe we can see again.
Whether you're a hobbyist or a professional, B&H has the answers to your questions. Experience a world of technology at our New York City Superstore. Connect with us online or give us a call. Our staff of experts is happy to help.